today to start our webinar about working and immigration in Canada during the COVID pandemic. We invite Laura Sturmer, Reza, and Carolina, and me, Daniela, to provide all the information to help everybody that is looking for jobs and is in the preparation to immigration now. So we'd like to introduce our presentation, and Laura will start soon. Would you like to present our offices and our services? We have 3 offices around the world, and we serve more than 25 countries. Our team has 15 members, and you can support immigrants in 7 different languages. We are very proud to have a very good rating in Google, and our company, it's like a boutique for immigration, and you provide all kinds of informations to visas and college applications and invest in Canada. Yes, our services, you have a very different range of services. We can provide different supports for immigration consults as education, extreme masters and college, all the immigrants that want to study in Canada, we can provide all the information, and we can answer the questions about all the immigration information in the end of the presentation. We can help and provide information about PR and all the applications for the citizenship. It's very important because it's a combination of jobs, Canadian experience, skills and knowledge to become a citizen, and we are very happy to assist in all. You have cases of LMIA applications, is when you find a job and you come to Canada to work as a Canadian workforce. And this is very specific situation that you can help. Everybody is waiting more information about provincial nominee programs that will receive new rules in the future. Maybe in 2 weeks we can provide all the updates, but not today because they didn't offer the new information yet. We can help in intra-company transfers, the cases of the employee working in 2 countries and wants to travel and work in different countries. All information about express entry, startup visa, family sponsorship, and humanitarian and compassion applicants. As you can see, you have different ways to immigrate, and it's very important to know what is the best way for you, and you can decide and take all the informations to choose the best path for you and your family. We are very proud to help and support everyone that wants to come to Canada. Yes, and now, Laura, it's you. Thank you for your time. Thank you to share all your experience with us. We are very proud to work with you and to support not only the Brazilians like us, as you can see in my accent, but all the communities to come to Canada and to work and study and make Canada your home.
Thank you, Dani. First of all, good evening, everyone. I think most of you guys are in Canada, some in Brazil. So good evening, everyone. Super happy to be here. I think this is the 4th webinar that we've been doing with INGWE. First one in English, so I hope we have more in English coming soon, because it's super happy to talk with other foreigners as well, other immigrants. And I also want to highlight how amazing is this initiative from INGWE. They are providing those webinars. They are always free. If you follow them on LinkedIn, on their website, social media, and every single webinar, you get more information. If you want to become an immigrant, if you want to build your life, the most powerful thing you can have is information. And you are getting this information from a very trustful agency. They are all immigrants. And what I like the most about doing the partnership with them, is that they are all immigrants, they all face the challenge, but it's not about selling you something, it's about helping you. Making your Canadian dream a reality based on your profile, based on what is the best for you. So just to highlight that, how grateful I am to be here and all the great things that they've been doing to support the immigration community. Those who want to come, those who are already here looking into PR, citizenship, and other steps as part of your career life. So today we have a kind of a very dense agenda because we're trying to share as much as we can in some important topics. We will quickly touch about job search, how to start the step by step, and then go on every single step to make your LinkedIn optimized, to make it really work on your favor. We will talk about how to build your resume using the JobScan tool, and then we will close with immigration to Canada. Again, feel free to include in the chat any question you have. We will address all of them in the end. If you have any questions about immigration as well, then you quickly touch about the service, feel free to bring to the chat, and we will address them by the end of the presentation as well. So we started with a little introduction about who is Laura, who is this person who is talking with you tonight. So I'm from Brazil. If you are not from Brazil, you might not be aware of the logos that are on the bottom. This is Lojas Renner, TIM, Votorantim. Those are all like big companies in Brazil. And all my career back home was always in marketing and retail industries. And in 2016, end of the year, I decided to move to Canada with my husband. I was taking a course at Humber on my first year. And then I started to meet some professionals, go to events. I got so many great mentorship learnings, pieces of advice in terms of career networking that when I implemented them, they really worked. So I had as my focus to land a job in marketing and retail, and it really helped happen thanks to all the amazing advice that I got. So I started as a co-op marketing coordinator at Canadian Tire. After 2 years and a half, I got 2 promotions. I turned into brand consultant, associate brand manager, and then last year I transitioned to consumer packaged goods. So if you want to work in branding, it's really important to have this experience on the other side, on those manufacturing companies who really have brand management as core of the industry. So I'm at Kimberly-Clark right now. When I was doing this journey, I realized I learned so much. It was my duty to share to other immigrants, so you don't make the same mistakes I did. And you learn only from the things that work. So I started to mentor, to do all the webinars, to share a lot of content on LinkedIn. And some people also asked me, Laura, do you do those like more mentor one-on-one sessions? And that's when I opened my business. I do have a consulting, it's a mentorship program called Landing. Okay, enough of me. Let's talk about what brought you guys here and what I hope will be helpful for every single one of you. First thing I want to say is that one of the mistakes I did the same that immigrants usually experience is that when you think about job search process, I need a job. The first thing that people think is I need to translate my resume from back home to English. And the second thought is, I need to hire or pay someone. I believe that none of those things are true. You can do the journey by yourself. I did by myself, the career journey without paying anyone. And the resume part is actually one of the last steps. You can't just translate. In my view, and this is how I approach my career journey in Canada, it's a long journey. So you first start on the bottom. You learn, if you want to work in Canada, you got to learn soft skills, Canadian culture. You need to learn the things that matter the most in the environment you want to work. And there are many ways to do that. You can learn by volunteering, by listening, by studying. There are so many contents about soft skills, Canadian culture, by getting involved in your community. So many ways. I'm going to just exemplify one of the ways you can do that. The second stage is, let's do a self-assessment. What are the things that I'm good at? What do I want to do for my career? What is the name of this position? Then you got to look into the industries. Okay, given that I want to work in marketing, how does the marketing industry works in Canada? What are the retail companies that are there? How does the department looks like? The challenge. Then once you figure those two pieces out, then you move into your LinkedIn and your resume. And then the other step is the networking. Because applying online, we're going to see, is not as effective. You got to build those relationships to get referrals, to get more likely to be called for an interview. And then eventually it will land you interviews. And I kept as a last step because it's something you got to do always, is the networking. You are new into the country, networking gives you friends. You know, it's so critical to make a successful life in Canada. I highlighted here today is a huge journey, so many things to talk. So I'm gonna touch on the other points and then deep dive on LinkedIn and resume today. So given that I will just touch on step 1, 2, and the other ones, how do I get more information? On the bottom, we have done some webinars in Portuguese with INGWE. I hope in the future we have the same version in English, but for now, all those articles, if you follow me on LinkedIn, if you go into my article section, I have the step-by-step job search, part 1, 2, networking, coffee chat, how do I do, what are the mistakes? So a lot of content that you can have there to guide you on those stages in more detail. So just to touch on soft skills and cultural difference, one of the first things I did in Canada, someone recommended me a video from Lionel Laroche. This guy is an immigrant like us. He's an expat. He came to Canada 15, 20 years ago. He started applying. He faced the same challenge we did. Translated the resume, sent to 1,000 companies, got 0 interviews. Then he realized there was a lot of difference that he was not aware of. So he does have a lot of great content, all free on LinkedIn. This is one of the lectures that I think is a must. Every single immigrant should watch. And he talks about all those soft skills, cultural difference that we gotta be aware, because it's gonna impact our entire process. Main one I want to highlight, Canada is a country that tends to be more specialist. Back home, I'm from Brazil, we tend to be generalist. Here, for example, if you want to work in marketing, it's quite common that you stay in this vertical of marketing. Back in Brazil, it's quite common. For example, I was part of a training management program after graduation. I wanted to work in marketing, but my director said, my marketing director, if you gotta be a good marketer, you gotta work in operations, logistics, do a job rotation in sales, and then you come back to marketing. You gotta have this holistic feel before you work in marketing. Here, when I was staying in an interview for a marketing position that I had experience in logistic operations, they were like, what? Like, doesn't make sense. So of course, after that, I just did not mention that. I highlighted the other experience that was relevant. So try to position yourself on those axes. What is my area, my focus area? And if possible, I know it's not always possible, what is my industry? For me, it was kind of easy. This is my passion, retail and marketing. But this is just one example how Canada work. If you want to do networking, if you want to be part of your community, there are thousands of organizations in this axis for industry professionals, fintech, retail, building, and on this axis for areas. So the more you know about your area, the better it is for your process to be more focused. It's going to help you with networking. So another thing I want to highlight here is that this is true. 80% of the jobs are not posted online, are not on LinkedIn, Indeed, where everyone goes, you know, and there are some reasons for that. To publicly post, you gotta have the recruitment profile on LinkedIn, which is quite expensive to create. position. Sometimes you need to go through a lot of internal process to create a job description, get approval, post. There is a cost of time. And if I need to fill out the opportunity really quick, sometimes it's easier to look around my company, ask for referrals. Or if I already know, if I'm a recruiter, I'm going to get the talent I know and approach them without posting publicly. So the way you access, it's very about networking, and the more you know about your industry, the more you know professionals, the more likely you will access those opportunities that the others are not seeing. And we will talk a lot about LinkedIn and resume, but the way I see those are not to be 100% optimized for machines. I want my resume to be seen by the hiring manager. I don't want to go through the just applying online and then fighting with the algorithm. I want to have enough networking to skip those steps. However, we will discuss how to optimize for those who still want to fight with the algorithm. Okay. Another highlight for those who are transitioning careers. So let's say you are applying online for a position for marketing coordinator. Back home in Brazil, you were a lawyer, okay? And here you were taking a postgrad in marketing. So you created your resume. You did the best, all transferable skills, included your marketing. When you upload to a system, an ATS system, it will compare the position, keywords, versus your resume. It's really low probability that we will be called for an interview because you don't have a lot of marketing experience. When you are transitioning careers, we can do the best as we can, but we will never win the algorithm. You gotta use networking. You gotta have someone who know all the amazing experience and transferable skills to pass along your resume so you skip the algorithm. Okay. Then talking about recruiters, this is just one example on the opportunities that are not posted online. If you have recruiters that you follow or that you connect, you're gonna notice they post a lot of positions, and only those who are connected with them are gonna see. If you filter on LinkedIn, it won't appear. And they do this because they want their network. They have a very selected network of professionals. They don't want to pay, and there is all the cost, the bureaucracy of creating an online position on LinkedIn. Okay. So quick touch on the steps before we go on LinkedIn and resume. Step one, know yourself. What are my strengths, my skills, my passion? How can I apply those to bring value to a company? Do I want to make a career transition currently? Read. It's well invested time to focus a lot on step 1 and 2. So when you go to an interview or when you build your resume, you have done all that. So it's going to be more effective because you already know the terminology, the keywords, the way professionals describe themselves, the name of the position. So it's going to save you so much time for resume building and interviews, I bet you. So read dozens of job postings, start saving those who seem to be something interesting or that match what you would like to do, highlight the name of the position, start highlighting requirement, qualifications, responsibilities. Those are all keywords. What are the gaps? What are the things that they are asking that I don't have and I might need to do? Be aware of Canadian names for positions and the different levels of seniority. Most common one, coordinator and specialist. Back home in Brazil, coordinator and specialist, a coordenador, is almost like a manager level. You do have a team, you have some seniority. Here in Canada, coordinator and specialist are entry-level positions. You've just graduated from university and it's your first job. Amazing positions for immigrants because we're gonna know the culture, you're gonna start somewhere. But it's not a senior, so don't be afraid of applying for those positions because those are great. Marketing manager position is another example. A marketing manager in Brazil does so many things that depending on how you compare with a manager here, might be a director or might be have another name. So just to exemplify. And what is your goal when doing all this research, understanding really well the name of the positions, the different levels of seniority, is that you want to have a clear picture of what are the 2 to 3 position names that I saw that match what I want to do. I do have the skills, so I have chances. And, you know, they're quite common. There are a lot of companies that post those roles. So you can build 2 to 3 base resumes for those different positions and then just make small adjustments. And again, the more you know what you want, the more the other people when you're networking will be able to help you. I'm just quickly touching those. In the other webinar and the articles, we go more in depth on how to do, but I just need to give you background before we jump into LinkedIn and resume. Okay. Step 2, I know my area. I know the 3 positions I'm going to apply for. In my case was marketing coordinator, merchandising coordinator, and brand consultant. Those were the 3 entry levels. I realized I will be applying for different companies. Okay. Second one, try to define your industry, your target companies. Why select industry and target company? To focus your efforts for networking. You don't want to do what the others do. What the others do, they look for a position, they translate a resume, and they send. You are having a proactive approach. You are first understanding, becoming an expert of the industry, knowing a lot of professionals. Even before the position is open, you do have a lot of knowledge. So when the position is open, you just leverage your network. And when the interview comes, you already know someone from inside who told about the challenge, about a lot of interesting things you can highlight on an interview. Okay. Another important thing, let's say I want to work for sales. I looked online and I realized, oh my God, there are sales coordinator, business development, inside sales representative. They all do pretty much the same, but the name of the position is quite different. When you focus on an industry, you might realize that you narrow the names. Maybe, for example, in the agency position, actually in the CPG industry, the sales position, they tend to be called key account managers. While in other small companies, they are more like sales coordinator, sales manager. So this is another point why you want to look into your industry, understand the terminology to better adapt your resume. And then this is what I did. I wanted to work in retail, so I started to follow retail professionals on LinkedIn to see their content, subscribe to newsletters from Retail in Canada. I want to know more about the channel, podcasts about retail, Google alerts. I want to become an expert on the industry before I start working there, because you know it's something I'm interested in. So the more I know, the better it will be when I'm networking, when I'm in an interview. I have more things to share. Okay, and I also gotta know what are the challenges, what is the current situation, because you might find out information that tell you, you know, this company, maybe I won't be applying there. Okay, a lot of effort on those 2 states. I bet you it's gonna save time on the following ones, but shouldn't be a boring task, because when you select an area that you're passionate for, this shouldn't be that boring. Okay, so passion is something that I truly recommend and I believe in. Passion, what do I love to do? It will make things easier. Okay, I know my area, I know my industry. It's time to networking. Actually, it's time to resume and LinkedIn. But before we touch resume and LinkedIn, let's just touch the final topic, networking. Networking in Canada, it's about building, in my point of view, building and nurturing relationships. It's not about asking for the other. It's not about sending thousands of connections. It's about adding value to the others, sharing content, you know, offering help without being asked. And it's not only for your career, it's for your life here. We moved 2 times. I never hired a transportation company here. We made so many friends that we got furniture. People gave us furniture. People helped us to install the furniture here, to make the move. And this is networking. This is making friends, getting to know people, listening to them, and helping the others. Okay, We will talk now in the context of career, but it's also beyond that. Networking also helps you to build your personal brand so the others know who you are, how you can add value. I also approach networking in a way to, I want to work in retail. I created a big list on every retail company in Canada. I set a goal that I want to know at least one person there that could give me insights from the company and make a referral, what I call the Laura ambassadors. Okay. And you can networking is not about applying for jobs, it's about putting your face out there, focus, passion, and then there are 4 ways that you can get more information on the article. You can do networking through LinkedIn, coffee chats, events, and volunteer. Okay, so a lot, because you gotta do all those steps to make sure that when building your LinkedIn and resume, it's gonna be effective. Okay, so when I arrived in this stage, building my LinkedIn profile, I already knew what I already want. So currently, I work as a senior associate brand manager at Kimberly-Clark. My next career step is going to be brand manager, marketing manager, for example. So this is the anatomy of a LinkedIn profile. Let's touch on what are the things I need to have. First one, header image. Okay, I will always say that you don't need to recreate the wheel. Google, look for other people profile, get their reference, get some ideas. You don't need to, this is probably something really represents me, because actually my computer is exactly this one, similar background. I love those artificial plants. I like this picture, but I did not take, I just reuse. So do the same, something that it's professional, that represents yourself. It will make your LinkedIn profile look way more professional. Second thing, professional picture. I know those things are basics, but I have seen so many people wearing sunglasses. Maybe they were at the beach or fancy places. This is not your Instagram picture. It should be a professional one. And you can take it, go to a background, a white wall, beach wall, just put on a nice shirt. You can keep your pajamas in the bottom, all good. And take a picture, and that's all. It's a clear background picture. This is what a professional photo is, okay? On the headline here, Senior Associate Brand Manager, what you will notice is that I kept my role and I included the word marketing brand. It's because the headline has a lot of weight on when recruiters are searching your profile. So, for example, because I want to work in the future as a brand manager and a marketing manager, I made sure that those keywords were there. So marketing, brand, and the word manager are there. Okay. Location, other important point, Greater Toronto area. If you live in Burlington, Oakville, you want to say you live in Greater Toronto area. You don't want to narrow your search. Companies are hiring for Greater Toronto area, not for specific cities. And finally, the open to work feature. I would always suggest you to keep for only recruiters. I'm very, and this is my personal opinion, not in favor of the open to new opportunities. The reason for that, it's because it's a super stupid analogy, guys, but from my experience and experience of my mentees, this is what I think is the way it works. So let's say I'm single, I'm going to a party, and I'm desperate for getting married, having kids. I really want that. So I go to a party and I look to every single boy there, and I seem desperate. It's almost like I have a banner. I want to get married to you. No one will look at me. They will be afraid of me, they will be interested on those girls, boys, whoever, that seem occupied, they seem busy, they seem, doing other stuff. Again, it's a super stupid way to show that you gotta show yourself here as someone who is busy, like has a lot of projects going on, is fully engaged in different things, is volunteering, not like someone who is desperate in need. You don't need to openly say that. You can say in a message, you can reach out, and you should reach out to your contacts to let them know you're looking, but not screaming, okay? So open to work here, only for recruiters, and add all roles from step 2. What are all the different variations of position names you're gonna apply? Put it here, okay? So let's look into the summary. I did not use mine. I just selected someone else to show you, give you a different perspective. This is someone from data. And let's look how he or she is introducing himself. Welcome, I have more than 10 years of experience with data and analytics, generating insights within automation. So see, it's casual, doesn't look like a template. It's inviting, welcoming for you to read, does have keywords that I highlighted, a bunch of them. In the second role, the person introduces itself, and highlights how they can add value to ensure the best implementation of data analysis process. So introduce yourself, how you can add value to a company. What is your current challenge? So the person here was saying, I've been challenging myself in the digital marketing world, okay? Paragraphs, not a big block, keywords that are relevant to your role. What is your challenge? Who is you? Don't need to reinvent the wheel. Look for people who are in similar position to you. Learn from their profiles, how they're doing that. Pick the different pieces of the puzzle, make it look like you, and done. Next session from LinkedIn. Feature session. This is new from LinkedIn, I think created last year. I haven't seen a lot of people using, but it's amazing. Remember, the more content, relevant content you add to your LinkedIn, the more professional it looks like. So in this feature area, you can really highlight anything that is relevant. So in my case, because I do post a lot of content on LinkedIn, I highlighted like my articles, podcasts, stuff that I have been doing. But if you don't have anything there yet, you can, a couple of options. You can, when you attend webinars in your area, create a post on LinkedIn, an article with your takeaways, what are the learnings, highlight here. You can write an article on LinkedIn. You can, share an outside link from a news from your work, a project. Let's say I work for Canadian Tire, and they are expanding their e-com platform, and I work in e-com. I want to highlight here. I want to mention that I'm part of this department, that somehow I'm involved in this project. And you can also highlight here your portfolio for those in marketing design. Put it here. Next session, your experience, couple of things I highlighted here. Name of the role. This is super important. LinkedIn is a dummy platform for some things. So I translated my role back in Brazil, and the way it translated, the literal translation, was senior marketing analyst / wholesale and retail. This position doesn't exist on LinkedIn. You don't see an opportunity from a Canadian company saying, I'm hiring senior marketing analyst / wholesale and retail. No, they will hire a senior marketing analyst, or if you have research about the company, actually it's a marketing coordinator. This is the role. So if you have something here in your position that is a name that doesn't exist, let's say you misspelled it, it won't show up. It will really affect your search, your keywords. So make sure that the names you use, they are really real ones. And when you are translating from your background, don't translate, make it match what a position here in Canada would look like. What is the name? Okay. Second thing, always add the description of the activities, all the keywords, and what you do. This is super important. You don't have to reinvent the wheel if you don't have it ready. Look online, look for other positions that are doing similar. Copy and paste. If the activities match, just copy and paste. Okay. You can also feature content under jobs. So at Canadian Tire, I was working in this Canvas brand. So I highlighted all the collections that I have worked with. So use this space. Another thing, if you are a newcomer, you are looking for jobs, maybe you are working in survival jobs, and let's say you want to be a marketing coordinator. I strongly encourage you to, in the meantime, become a marketing coordinator for a small company, a non-for-profit, as a volunteering. Why? Giving back to community, connecting with people, and learning what you want to do. And on top of that, you can add, my current experience is a marketing coordinator for XYZ. Of course, you're going to mention here on the bullet points that is an unpaid position. But again, you will introduce yourself as a marketing coordinator. You are not an unemployed, you know? And always try to tag the company profile so we show the logos. Some companies don't have LinkedIn profile, but tag as possible. Education, tag the institution, same commentary. You can feature your publication. Make sure the name of the courses, they are equivalent to the Canadian name. For example, in some countries, they have very specific, for example, MBA in secretary executive. If in Canada, it really doesn't, this is not a good example, but try to find like a similar name. Sometimes they're so specific, and when you go to universities here in Canada, you find a course that the curriculum is pretty much the same, but the name is slightly different. Try to use, so it's easier for someone who is quickly running through your LinkedIn to understand what you have studied. And then certifications, there are a lot of resources for free. When you are doing your research, find out what are the skills you need to develop, get those certifications there. Volunteer experience, super important. You know, if you're doing a volunteer that is not exactly in your same field, add them here. If it's exactly in the same field and it is what you are doing right now, you can go up, as I mentioned before. Okay, and finally, some sessions, skills and endorsements, super important. On the right, you can see if you have the premium, every time you apply for a position, the recruiter highlights what are the skills that I'm looking for. And those skills should match what you have here. So the more skills that are relevant that you have, the more endorsements, the more likely your LinkedIn will rank well when you apply through LinkedIn. One important thing, if you don't have LinkedIn Premium, when you are going through the position, highlight those keywords and make sure you have them here. Then the last session, recommendations, super important. I strongly recommend you first to give to the others instead of expecting someone. Is the principle I mentioned before, help the others, you know? Someone might be with COVID and everything, experience such a challenging time. Imagine if you wake up and there is a great recommendation from someone you volunteer with, you know, someone you study or you work together. It's such an important thing. So we should do more of recommendations, and I bet you're gonna receive more as well. And then when you optimize your LinkedIn, make sure in your dashboard you can check when people are searching different topics, different keywords, how many times your name appeared on the last week. You can see where the companies, those people, what they do, and most importantly, what are the keywords that they typed and that led to your LinkedIn. This is super important. If I want to work as a senior finance analyst and I'm looking for the keywords here and says marketing coordinator, there is something wrong with my profile that I need to optimize and adjust. Okay, quite a lot on the first, resume on LinkedIn. What I want to do now is to look at some real cases. First, I really appreciate every single one who sent resumes on LinkedIn. We received over 25, and it was impossible to cover every single one. So we try to be as fair as we can, bring people from different backgrounds, bring different approaches to show really good things that people are doing, things that they could improve. So we all learn the more as we can. Okay, case one, marketing manager. Before we jump into that, a couple of highlights. There is not really a right formula for resume or LinkedIn. Okay, there are preference. I'm sharing my preference based on what experience, but if you share your resume to 100 people, I bet you 100 people will have different opinions. So make your filter, don't take it as the true, 100% true what Laura said I need to do. No, learn, experience, optimize. This is a journey, okay? To properly build your resume, you must do steps 1 and 2. I don't want you to create one resume for every single position. The more you learn about the market, what is your focus area and industry, the easier it will be, because you will have a LinkedIn that works for most of the positions and 2 or 3 base resumes. Those reviews that I gave, I don't know these people, so I try to pretend I'm a recruiter. And if I have 10, 20 seconds, I have the job description as a reference of what I want. And I have 10, 20 seconds to skim through the resume, skim through the LinkedIn, and find out if the person is a fit or not. So this was the approach I took. And finally, 1 or 2 pages maximum for resume, unless you are a very senior professional. Let's be concise. Okay, quick overview on job description. There is no such a thing as the resume. Every time you optimize your resume, you're optimizing towards matching a position. So this is the position the candidate wanted to apply. We can see is the travel industry. What I always like to do is to highlight the keyword. So job descriptions, they provide us a lot of information about the company, about what is expected for the professional in terms of experience, hard and soft skills. And the first paragraph always provides you a lot of guidance for the elevator pitch, for your resume, for your LinkedIn summary content. So let's see here, for example, the ideal candidates have previous experience in wide range of marketing functions, communications, advertising. If I'm replying to tell me about yourself, and I'm applying for this position, and again, assuming that the person has this experience, I will say, I will reply like, I have over 5 years of experience in different areas of marketing. I have done communication programs, always linking to the keyword. I have done some work in advertising when I was working in an agency, and I also managed different brands when I was an analyst, for example. So a lot of clues to prepare for LinkedIn, resume optimization, and interview. One more thing. We know it's a travel agency. We know they play in the luxury space. If I have any experience in my past in this industry, when we look into my resume LinkedIn, I gotta highlight there. I do have experience, because this is gonna be a plus for this company. She has experience in the industry we play. This is just the second part of the job description. Again, I highlighted a lot of the activities, things that I need to include on my resume or LinkedIn. And one of the things, the order of the key responsibilities might indicate the importance of activities, the percentage of time you're gonna put effort behind. So if you need to optimize, if you can tell about everything, start with the top ones, and then you can talk and include your resume examples for the other ones, the bottom. This position also had, the qualifications, which is quite common, the cultural fit, which is good for us to understand, does the culture of the company meet what I'm expecting, fit my expectations? This is good. We are also interviewing them, you have to, it's an interview of both sides. You are also making a choice to work or not in the company. Another key, when you are optimizing your resume for application, I highlighted here, MS Office application. Let's say I'm applying online, I don't have any referral, which means I'm fighting against the machine. and I wrote down that I have Excel and PowerPoint. Or better than that, I wrote down I have Microsoft Office application skills. The system, the ATS system will say, I don't have experience on this application because the name of the application is MS Office. So if you are fighting with the algorithm, all those little things are super important, okay? Oh, and the last thing, if you're preparing for an interview, just a tip, I always like to copy all the skills in a Word document, and below any of those lines, I write what project, what experience I did this, or I deliver, or what exemplifies what I have accomplished. Work in a KPI-driven organization, just to help me prepare for the interviews. So let's look into the LinkedIn. So the person that wanted to apply to this position used this LinkedIn. It does have a professional profile, header picture, all good. It does have keywords on the headline. Couple of watch outs there. Point of sale versus POS. For those in marketing, it's a terminology. If you want to include that, you got to make sure that first, a lot of positions use this keyword and that they are using the point of sale all written instead of the acronym. Make sure this is a real noble real estate space on your LinkedIn in terms of optimization. You got to use for things that matter, for keywords that are very common on title of positions. Okay, so I'll watch out here. The second watch out is that you are applying for a marketing manager role. And here I only see marketing specialist, which is a quite entry level role. So this is another watch out. If you want to focus on senior, you have to, in your summary, the way you introduce yourself, show that you do have enough experience and that you are looking for this transition. If you want to apply for a specialist and coordinator, then your strategy should be for those entry level. A couple of notes on the next sessions about me. It's very well written, but some suggestions. It's a long block. See that, seems a lot of wording. It's hard to read. Try to break those blocks. It's super well written, but try to break, explore some bullet points, add the keywords. So I brought here on the right marketing programs, marketing, social media, a lot of keywords, and even way of describing. I have prior experience on wide range of marketing functions. This sentence is really cool if you have a generalistic marketing background. You can add on your About Me session. Names of the positions, in an ideal scenario, if I'm applying to be a marketing manager, I will have, in my experience, marketing manager, marketing coordinator, positions that are in line. Of course, you will never lie, okay? If you don't have, or if you're not doing volunteering, no problem at all. But you need to include those keywords that are related to what you have done in other parts of the resume. Small things I mentioned about the misspelling thing. Accounts manager. If Canadian call account manager, the system will say you haven't worked as an account manager because you are an accounts manager. Okay. She does have description for all the roles, so very well written. So good points there on education. Everything was in English. On the license and certifications, I would use this to highlight real certifications that are related to the area of marketing for a marketing manager. So tips for better business writing. This is more like a YouTube video that we watch. Of course, will bring me a lot of learnings, but it's not a real certification that will add me value. Hot suit, yes, it will, for sure. And then as an immigrant, I would suggest you never use TOEFL and IELTS, or never include information that speak English, because you are in Canada. Like, this is table stake. You know, you can't claim this, because, and you don't want them to perceive you as an immigrant, because Canadians would not have that. Okay. Volunteering as a way to develop your skills. I mentioned before, if she wants to become a marketing manager, she can get a role as a marketing manager. She did include a lot of different experience, which is great. Skills and endorsements also very well aligned to the keywords we saw before, and recommendations. Okay, so a really good LinkedIn, some opportunities to improve. One challenge though, she wants to become a marketing manager and she is not a marketing manager. So to rank well on LinkedIn, it's gonna be hard. So this person gotta use the networking strategy to get a referral. Looking into the resume anatomy, what is the resume this person used when applying for the position? Header is really clear, name, city, email, LinkedIn, all good. A professional summary paragraph, really well written, a lot of things that were relevant to the position. A couple of suggestions I would highlight, bold, main keywords. So if I have 5 minutes, if you highlight the keywords that are related to the role, it will make the recruiter or whoever is reading feel that there is a fit. It will guide their eyes to the things that match what the position asks. Skill session. One thing on the professional summary, mention the links. This person has worked, we saw, she works at Porter. She or he works at Porter. It's going to be a second sentence here. You know, I have experience in the travel industry. This is a plus. Highlight this on your professional summary. A session for the skills. My only watch out here, it's really good. It's matching most of the things. Try not to just dump a bunch of words. Try to be concise and highlight what really matters for the position. Work experience here. She or he included a sentence, head of marketing partnerships, a description of the role. This is quite interesting, good approach, because quickly summarize what is the main role of the job. One approach for some people who have worked, in my case, I worked for Votorantim, big group in Brazil, no one's know here. I created a sentence saying, you know, fourth largest cement company in the world, with $2 billion per year in sales, something like that, just to show, hey, it's a huge company, you know. And the only other thing she did that, highlighter, linking the activity, thinking on what the job requires, but link what you have done with what you have accomplished. So she mentioned here, expanded the network of partners by 130% in 2 years. So bring some numbers when possible. Second page, my suggestion, resume, you have 2 pages and it's a noble space. You gotta use this with things that matter the most. So I would not repeat, you know, look how many space we lost with the same information that was before. If you worked in cities that are not, well, São Paulo is a big one, but some city that people don't know, just remove them. It's not relevant. She did specify that she had clients Burger King, Cinemark. If they're relevant, if a Canadian person would know, someone in Canada would know, then leave it. If it's not well known, just remove. She was missing volunteering session and education as the last session is correct, because for a marketing manager, what matters the most is your skills and your experience. Education is secondary. Last 2 cases. Second one is an inside sales representative. This is a position, Nova Scotia. As you guys know, job description provides so many information. Couple of things. This company is headquartered in Vancouver. Let's say that the company was headquartered in Brazil or in India. In this case, in my summary, I would highlight that I'm Brazilian or that I'm from India and that I speak Portuguese, for example. Because in this context, highlighting that I'm immigrant will add value. If not, I would never highlight that. I don't want them to perceive me as an immigrant. I want them to perceive me as an experienced professional. Okay. Then I highlighted a lot of keywords that are important. A couple of things. This is inside sales representative. This is an entry-level position. It does inbound calls, means take calls from customers, and does outbound phone calls. So calling to try to sell sales. Knowing that is an entry-level position, we will look into the resume, how an entry-level approach, how should I show myself? Other highlight, formal sales training is desirable. Desirable means optional, but if you have, it's super important. If says required, and if you don't have, doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply, but it does mean that you should have a really good story on how you're going to overcome this gap. Okay, I did not have some of the requirements for Kimberly-Clark position, but I could show them that I was able to learn those skills in other roles, and I would do the same for this one. Quick overview on the resume of the person. This person is coming to Canada, currently in Brazil. If you have a date, you know you're going to arrive in Nova Scotia in 2 months from now, you have the date, update your resume. Put that you're going to be in Nova Scotia. You can also get a phone from Nova Scotia while you are still at home. LinkedIn page, there was this weird link. You can edit your LinkedIn link to make it, linkedin.com/first dot last name. Try to simplify so it's easier for the recruiter to type. Couple of things. This is an entry-level position. The fact they don't want to know if you have a master and MBA. They want to know, have you done anything regarding outbound, inbound, answering phone calls, selling products, working with building materials, all the things that they ask there. And where you graduated, if it's not here in Canada, those are not as relevant things, okay? On the summary, go back to the position. For example, you could say, I'm an experienced sales professional in the areas of construction, building materials, supporting customer from wide. So all those keywords that I got from the description. Then moving into professional experience, if your city is not super well known, I wouldn't keep it. The person saying that had constant interaction with the company's headquarters located in Italy. There was nothing related to that in the job position, so don't waste space with things that not necessarily are required for the position. Except, let's say the company is headquartered in Italy, the one you were applying, and you have worked for an Italy company before, then it's an important information, okay? A couple of other watch outs, market research and visits to active and potential customers. Terminology is super important. You have done exactly what the role is requiring, but you were saying that you have done market research, while they explained that they were, prospecting customers. That simple terminology might eliminate you from the process, because if a machine is reading, or if someone is reading 10-20 seconds, all those terms, they don't seem to be as similar to the position, okay? Another things here, realization of sales forecasts. If the position doesn't require sales forecast, don't mention. Don't waste the space on things that the position. When you are generalistic, you tend to do 10 things. In Canada, a similar position would do 5 things. So mention the 5 things, okay? Another couple of things, consultant. What is the Canadian equivalent name here for the position? Is this sales coordinator? Consultant, I bet you that it's usually not the name. Training engineer, intern, those are names. What is the Canadian equivalent name? And then in this position, the person had a lot of very technical names. What are the transferable skills? Let's say I have done analysis, I have written reports. This is what is more important than the very technical things that for a sales position might not be required. Information we are missing, sales training. Position said that was something that could be interesting. So go after something on Linda, Udemy. People are, if you want to work with sales, get a volunteering position or an internship unpaid to become a business development, something here in Canada that will give you this experience. And don't add the English here, as I mentioned before. Okay, going to wrap up, a couple of is the last example. This is a position as the laboratory assistant. This person applied. Laboratory assistant is pretty much entry-level position, like an administrative assistant that works in a laboratory. So does require some knowledge of equipment because you're gonna clean and maintain. And this is the resume. Professional picture, gotta have something with white background, a header. We are missing some keywords on the headline here. About me session C is quite empty. Number of followers. You gotta increase your connections. You studied at Seneca, connect with your previous colleagues. Increase your connections on LinkedIn. This is important because you're gonna find people in common when you are applying for roles. This person has been working in restaurants. There are a lot of transferable skills there. You gotta do routines of opening, closing the restaurant, daily ordering, maybe receiving materials and for the restaurant. Things that are same that you're gonna do as a laboratory assistant. Use those transferable skills and add here. And then, as I mentioned before, license and certification, make sure that the ones you add are related to your field. And also volunteer experience, right? If you want to be the technical assistant, laboratory one, why not becoming an administrative assistant for a non-for-profit library, for example? Gotta learn the same skills, and then you're gonna be able to put in your experience here, okay? Then just some of the skills, make sure that they are aligned to the position. English is something I don't really recommend, as I mentioned. Okay, so a lot of content. We are almost wrapping up. I just want to mention about JobScan. So in some province, if you just do the best of you can with optimization, as I mentioned before, because the market is not as competitive, you just upload your resume, you have good chances of being called for an interview. In Ontario and some cities specific, in my opinion, is that depending on your area is really hard. It's very ineffective. So you gotta optimize even further using JobScan. I will share, I'm not a big fan of JobScan. I rather do the other route, which is through connection, generating these interviews and referrals. But if you want to test this approach, you will build your resume base based on the knowledge you have from the position. You have your base. I'm applying for marketing coordinator position. So I landed on a resume base that it's good for an average marketing coordinator position. To optimize even further, JobScan is this tool. So got into their website. And what you will do, you will post your resume copy and the job description on the other side. And then it will match and give you a lot of reports on what are the things we're missing, what are the keywords, and all that stuff. Okay, has a lot of reports. Some stuff is for free, most of them are for free, others you have to pay, and we'll give you insights. It's helpful. I think it does help. What I don't like, it's about I would never lie. I would never put keywords or things that just for the sake of optimizing. That's why I prefer the other approach, which is networking, people knowing me that will send my resume. And final tips as we wrap up, value added interview. All the things I share is because I believe we need to go above and beyond. If you want to be successful, you can do what everyone is doing. In some areas, it's possible to do a value added interview. So I had a mentee who applied for a social media coordinator position. The person, before the interview, looked at the social media channels of the company, looked at the competition social media, and prepared a report for our recommendations. So at the time of the interview, when the manager asked, why do you want to work with us? The person said, I want to work because of that, and because I think I can help you with that, and handed the report. The moment the manager read, imagine how many of the other candidates did the same. Probably no one. And this led to an immediate, decision. You are hired, because the person proved to the hiring manager that it was more than capable of doing what it was going to do. And this is why the manager decided to hire. The second thing I want to highlight is the 80-20, is the Pareto rule. I do believe that for a successful career in Canada, 80% of your time is about building relationships through LinkedIn, attending events, learning, expanding your knowledge, your network. And 20% of the time, it's uploading resumes and applying for positions. Okay. Roles of referrals, knowing what you want, preparation comes before there is an interview, and application online only. It still works in some provinces and some areas. If you don't have a referral, you still get the chance to be called for an interview in some province, in some areas, for some roles. For the great majority, and if you work in Toronto, for example, you gotta do a different approach. Okay, so I'm gonna pass it over to Danny, and then I can tackle any questions you guys have after that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. I wish I received all this information when I was in Brazil before I start my preparation. I have a question only to add for your presentation, because how you can manage people that come to other countries and have a very, very regulated and certificated positions, for example, engineer, doctors, lawyers, how we can manage, how they can switch for another career and be successful in Canada?
Oh, that's a great question. And I get this. I mentor many engineers. Oh my God, so many lawyers. So the first thing we do, we go through the step one of the assessment. Do you want to work as an engineer? Do you want to sign for projects, construction? Do you still want to go to law to become a lawyer? If you want to go to this pathway, it is possible, but might take a little bit of time, some money invested, or we can look into transferable skills. For example, I know many lawyers who are working today as legal assistant, administrative assistant. It does have some similarity. And to be fulfilled on what they like, they volunteer in the legal area here in Canada. So this is one of the things, one of the approaches I do suggest for really regulated areas.
Yes, no, that's very good. Other points that I'd like to highlight is how important for you, and we can asking help with Reza, to know exactly what you need to have as a job to your immigration plan. So I can work in a survivor job, don't have problem, and it's not a shame. Everybody needs to work to pay the bills. But when you're talking about a knock job, it's a qualified job, what you need to know to the job has the requirements for the immigration.
This is more a Reza about the knock.
Well, so Daniela, clarify the question again. So is it like if somebody's applying from inside of Canada or from outside of Canada for a job?
Sometimes the people think that you can have a job,
Yeah,
but for the immigration purpose,
yeah.
even outside or inside, the job needs to have some requirements.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, as you mentioned, it's the National Occupation Classification System. And that's how Canada organizes all of the occupations that exist into skill levels, right? So when everybody's saying knock B or knock A and all these sort of things, this is the Canadian government's basically categorization or classification of these. And when you do find a job, so I mean, finding a job by itself, as Laura said, is quite a challenge as newcomers, right? Or not, you know, people who are studying here and then working, or the spouses or partners of students. So find a job for sure, but then also check at the same time that exactly what you mentioned, Daniela, that NOC code, that National Occupation Classification. Because if you, a lot of people end up working for like 8 months in a NOC C.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then we're like, okay, so you're a customer sales representative. Okay, well, that's a NOC C, which is skill level C. It's not a bad job. It's a great entry job, right? Because, you know, it pays the bills. But if you want a provincial nominee program job offer, or if you want to gain Canadian work experience for express entry, like last month when 27,000 people were invited because of 1 year Canadian work experience inside the express entry, you wouldn't be eligible, right? So do your homework, exactly what Laura mentioned, you know, doing all this research, and information is power and information will save you money. Okay.
A
Uh,
lot.
so when you apply for a job, okay, so there's two things to consider. One is, okay, this job is helping me pay my bills while I'm in Canada studying, or my partner or spouse is studying. But another point of looking at it is like, okay, will this job in any way help me with my path to permanent residency? Will this lead to Canadian work experience in express entry, or let's say provincial nominee pro, no matter where in Canada you are, it doesn't matter. Yes, some places they accept NOC, but that's 20% of the programs. So consider both options so you don't waste too much time in that program. So if you're in a NOC or D job, at the same time you're prospecting other jobs, right? So you're looking at bouncing to a better job like a NOC B, 0A, or whatever is available for those immigration programs, because you don't want to be wasting too much time, right? So you have to do your homework, you have to research about these things. So it's not just finding a job, it's finding a job that will lead to permanent residency, that will help you with the Canadian work experience. So you're right, Daniel, it's not, so newcomers, applicants, immigrants, they have like more weight on their shoulders. So it's not just finding a job. Like if you're a Canadian, you're just looking for a job, right? If you're a PR, you don't care about NOC codes. You care about how much you get paid. Is it a good employer? What are the benefits? What's the working hours? Can I work remotely? But when you're a new applicant, um, you have, and who doesn't have a PR, then you have both to think about, which is makes it more challenging. But anyways, that's my 2 cents about about the NOC codes. Okay.
And Reza, Laura present a job position that the company is in Vancouver,
Yeah.
but the job is in the Atlantic. And I'd like to make sure, for example, if the company is in Vancouver,
Yeah.
but the job is in Atlantic, it's okay for me apply for the provincial Atlantic in the case of Nova Scotia, or will be
No,
a
so
problem?
yeah, you have to be very
It,
careful with that. So right now it's great with this remote working, because you could be working for a company in the US sitting in Toronto. You could be working for a company in Brazil, or a Brazilian could be working for a company in I don't know, Toronto or Winnipeg, right? But when it comes to immigration, it's very specific. So if I work for a company registered in BC, but they have a physical location and a registration in Atlantic province, I have to be physically present in that specific Atlantic province to be eligible under that provincial nominee program. Not for express entry, but for the provincial nominee program, right? So they have to, so you have to be careful. They have to have a registered company in that province, right? For at least a year or more, depending on the program. So be careful. Some registration of a company. Plus, you have to be physically present. So if you're working remotely from another country, another province, the provincial nominee program, even if you're nominated and you have the job offer and everything is perfect, they will refuse you because your physical presence in that province is mandatory.
Yes. And other question I'd like to ask in the help of Carolina, because she's specialized in education, is, for example, when you have a career that you want to pursue in Canada, for example, I'm not a marketing person in Brazil, but I want to change. Carolina, what you recommend as a course? For example, I have different opportunities. Canada is huge and different prices and different requirements. How I can choose better the course to change for a new career?
Hi, everyone. This is like the question that probably everybody has first asked themselves when they think about studying in Canada, right? Usually people that are immigrating, they already have their careers back home. They already have certain experience. And coming here, things are a little bit different. So my advice is always this. I know it may sound a little bit crazy, but this is like choosing a program is like buying an apartment, right? There are so many things that you have to take into account. You have to prioritize, okay? So first of all, employability. For example, somebody that is a psychologist back home, to be able to keep in that path here in Canada is not as easy. You have to go through a certification process and a licensing process. And on top of that, obviously, the job itself is not as easy to find. There is not many, you know, the work, the itself is not available as much for Canadians, even less for immigrants, right? So number one thing to think about a program is definitely your interest, but that wouldn't be my top priority. The main thing is employability. Second thing is price. You have to think that obviously education is an investment, especially when you're coming from countries like Brazil, Latin America. The investment is important. So you want to have a program that is maybe short because you are going to pay less, but it's effective. It's in a skill that you are able to acquire that kind of maybe complements your knowledge already, but something that gives you an advantage. So not necessarily something the same that you did, but more something that complements, or something like Laura said, something that maybe is kind of similar when you have those transferable skills. Like, for example, doctors can come here and they can certify themselves. The process is very long. It's complicated. So what they do, they just study nursing, for example, right? So you have transferable skill. You start, you know, getting to know the field. You start getting to become a nurse. You only have to study 2 years, right? So in that sense, you start getting, and then once you're here and you got your PR and everything, you can take that long path and maybe certify yourself if that's what you want. So basically, also the price, there are provinces in Canada and there are schools. The prices range tremendously, okay? So there is a program for everybody. My job, part of my job is to try to find the cheapest programs for our clients. Basically, some clients are more oriented to what they want to study. It's like, look, I want a master's, I want to do this and that. Some others are like, look, I just want the cheapest way to come to Canada, and that's completely valid as well. But of course, it's not just cheap. You also have to think about the other stuff, employability, and the abilities that you're, maybe you can complement, so you're going to be able to use here. And then also very important, the immigration path. Okay, so basically, as a summary, you have to try to find a program that is going to get you a job that is in a province that it has better options for immigration, and is also maybe within your price range. Okay, so if you want to know more about programs and all that, please let us know. This is something that we specialize. I see a question here that it's actually exactly what we do. A person that is trying to figure out basically how to transition, which path, and choosing a program here in Canada is something that we do. We have very great options in all Canada, depending specifically of your background. So that's something that we can definitely help you with.
Oh, thank you so much, Carolina. Yes, we are very happy to support the applications for the college and prepare the letters and explain the previous experience in the back home and how they can put value and help in the new course. This is something very important because you need to combine your background experience, the course that you must attend, and your job in the future in Canada. We have a
I think Danny is frozen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so there's some questions, Carolina and Laura, that you guys can address.
Yeah, I can handle. And actually, I just want to clarify one thing, because we emphasize a lot of the webinar today about LinkedIn and a resume, because this is something that is really important. But one thing I should have said earlier, as an immigrant who has been through the entire process, if you want to live in Canada, you gotta research about jobs, but you gotta make sure your immigration pathway is a sustainable one. A lot of people come to talk with me, get my inputs on how to get a job. They're going into a specific career. And the first question I ask them, do you want to stay in Canada? Do you have your PR, your visa, all, lined up? Because you shouldn't, you can't spend money, time, efforts in terms of your career if you don't have a solid immigration plan. So in a nutshell, if you want to come into Canada, research about the city you want to live, the industry, but make sure your immigration plan is clear and set up. And once you have a day to come, even before you are at home, you have a day to come, you can start all the networking and all the step 1 and 2 that I mentioned from your home, in your home country. Sorry, Danny, just wanted to complement that.
No, perfect. Sometimes because of our age or your career, it's better you go to one province or another because of the market and because of the requirements for immigration. If you have more than 45 years, we really recommend avoid British Columbia and Ontario because they are very competitive and age is something that you can change.
Unless they want to study a master's, then. Masters are good in those provinces, yeah.
Yes, Carolina has a solution. If you apply for a master, you can do a very good course and you can apply for immigration as a master's student. Yes, this is a very good solution. So Paula French has a question. In Brazil, I am a brand manager. What's the equivalent position name in Canada? Is the same?
For brand manager? Yeah, it is the same. The only thing you want to watch out, I don't remember because I didn't work with branding in Brazil. here they do have the associate or assistant brand manager, which is kind of a junior manager position. And then you go into brand manager. So the only thing to watch out.
Okay. Next question is Junad Said. I don't know if I pronounce correct because it's a very unique name. We were spot on a generalist experience in CPG industry, and I am so glad that is someone who can relate to my problem. So thank you so much for that. How do you propose to tackle the lack of local Canadian experience? And if I have landed an interview, that means my skill set matches with the requirements. But if organizations are not willing to give me a chance, how do I get a local Canadian experience?
Okay, I will give my perspective on what I think is Canadian experience. Canadian experience, because every immigrant started somewhere. Everyone gave them the first chance. I think what we hear, the Canadian experience, in my opinion, is not that you haven't worked in a Canadian company, because I got my first job at Canadian Tire. The Canadian experience, it's because you haven't done step 1 and 2. The way you are presenting yourself, the way you are networking, the way you are pursuing positions, it's not clear for whoever is recruiting, interviewing you, what are the transferable skills? What you have done back home that match here? So in my opinion, Canadian experience is about matching, using the same keyword terminology. Like what makes it silly analogies that I use. What makes a duck, it's because it looks like a duck, it behaves like a duck, and makes quack. So if you want to be a marketer in Canada, you gotta look like a marketer, present yourself, have a resume, have a talk, as a marketer. And you do this by following step 1 and 2 and networking, learning from the others. Okay, this is the Canadian. And the second example, you can get volunteering experience to really get some hands-on. And this is quite easy to get.
Okay. Glauco Fadel has a question. How can you approach people from networking using LinkedIn? What's the best practice? I believe he's a shy guy.
And I would love to have Reza in the team in the future. Let's do the step-by-step job search, the one we did in Portuguese. Let's do it in English. I would love to, because all those things, we go really in depth on every single step of networking. So just to answer in a nutshell, how to do networking. Couple of things. Coffee chat. Look the article I wrote about coffee chat. They also call informational interview, but I don't like the name. You are not interviewing someone. It's a chat. It's very cultural relevant here in Canada. If you are a shy person, try to find someone with a similar background from you. Someone who studied at the same college, maybe from the same country as you that is here in Canada, and invite them for a virtual chat. Ask them to tell what do they do, how did they get there. This is a good starting point for approaching coffee chat and networking.
Perfect. Adriana Mello said, good afternoon, and first of all, thank you for your time. I have a couple of questions. Do you think this is important to have a premium LinkedIn account? And what's the best platform to network in pandemic time?
Okay, premium is quite expensive. In the beginning of the pandemic, the LinkedIn professionals who were working there gave away, they just posted, hey, if you have laid off, I'm more than happy to give you LinkedIn premium. So I encourage a lot of people to get those. Right now, I think it's $30, something like that. If you are able to spend that, and if you leverage the tool, there are many sites. It's super helpful. However, I know it's expensive. So what I would do, I would maximize, learn as much as I can about all those features that I mentioned, because most of them are for free. Then leverage the 30 days for free that you can use usually, and apply to the positions, learn about the skills, get as many insights as you can. And if you can't continue, then just cancel. So it's a nice to have, but I think it's not a must to have. and best platforms for networking, I use LinkedIn. There are other platforms, 10,000 Coffees, Lunch Coffee. I use LinkedIn and I do a lot of webinars like that. Let's say I'm in a webinar in marketing. I connect with all the speakers. I make questions. I see, let's say, Adriana asked something really interesting for a speaker. I would go on LinkedIn. Who is Adriana? Oh, she's a marketer as me. I'm going to connect with her. This is about building connections and doing networking.
Oh, good. Other questions, how do you deal with the language? Did you do English class? Carolina, a lot of clients need to know English. How you can solve the problem? How I can study English?
Now is the time to study English in Canada.
Yes.
Just a quick comment on that. Definitely English is key to find jobs, to do your interviews. The better your English, the more opportunities you're going to have. So right now, because of COVID, a lot of schools are offering online classes that are full-time, that are great to enter colleges, or even if you just want to prepare for academic English, not necessarily for a school, but just to write, to learn how to write better, to improve your skills in general. It's a great time to do it. Schools are offering programs at very low rates, even like a third of what they normally charge here. So it is a good time to do it. I recommend to do it, even if your English is quite good, just to start, because you can start from home and start getting familiar a little bit with the accent. You're going to have teachers, you're going to have your classmates, even when it's online. So it is a good opportunity to do it now from home, start from home. And then when you're here, you're already, you have some practice, and you have improved.
Mm-hmm. We have other question, but this is about resume and how to match resume and job posts. This is something unique because we never used to do that in other countries. We needed to prepare one resume for each job post. That's it, Laura.
Yeah, and I think the person always asks, do I need to keep altering my LinkedIn?
Yes.
What is my approach on that? Again, I don't like applying online all the time. So the way I did, and I'm really looking forward for us to do the step-by-step job search in English. The way I did, I find out the 3 positions I wanted to apply for: marketing coordination, merchandising coordinator, and brand consultant. I built a strong LinkedIn that was related to all of them and was true, had the keywords.
The LinkedIn is generical, and each resume is specific.
Good point. Okay. Exactly. For each position. One thing though, those 3 positions, they are very related to, even though the name is different, what they do is quite similar. So I kept one resume, one LinkedIn, and used 3 different resumes, but I was not using JobScan. I knew so many people. I did over 100 coffee chats on my first year in Canada. So I knew so many people that eventually people would reach out to me. Hey, Laura, I remember you were applying, you want to work in retail. There is this position. Are you still looking for? Or I would apply and send my resume for a referral. So I didn't need to go through the ATS, through the algorithm, because I think it's such a challenging game to keep optimizing, forcing. It's almost fake. I'm not very in favor of.
And never put the resume in the LinkedIn, because each resume is different for the job post that you are applying. Yes. No, that's very good, because sometimes the people doesn't know how to manage the LinkedIn and the resume and the different job posts. Yes. Paula Frange is concerned about the restrictions and how to talk to people and have the opportunity to find jobs remotely. How you can approach and organize online coffees and chats. I believe COVID become a very challenging era to find a new job, but you need to think not the disadvantages, but advantage to be everybody online.
Yeah, so I think with COVID, yeah, it brought a lot of challenge, but you know, I would start doing your network now online. My only watch out is that I do see a lot of people being more, a lot of companies being more open for remote work, but I'm not sure. For example, depending on our area, on a marketing field, Canadian consumers are quite different from Indian consumers, Brazilian consumers. So it's not as interesting for a company to hire someone who doesn't know about this market. Other technical roles, you do see a lot of remote work happening. So it really depends on the position. Some areas I find really challenging. If you're not here, if you don't have a visa, it's really hard to get, super rare. I don't know if I really answer her question, but in a nutshell, you can do online chats from home to with Canadian people, and applying online without having an immigration visa is a tricky path. I would get my immigration unless you are IT or very demanding areas. It's really rare that company would hire you.
Yes, they used to ask if you can work illegally in Canada, and if you don't have your work permit, you cannot answer this question. So it's very important, get your work permit and after looking for an opportunity. Other question we have from Cassia Linhares, and she's doing a transition careers. She studied psychology in Brazil. And now she would like to switch for HR. And she studied in George Brown, and she is finding some difficulties to find a job now during the pandemic.
Two areas very correlated, so it's very transferable skills. You do lack a little bit from an human resources side, the experience, but you got some of them through the program on George Brown College. I would encourage you to start looking for coordinator positions, and then do again volunteering, internship, unpaid co-ops to get the HR specific experience while you keep applying, networking, and looking for those positions. But very, as Carolina mentioned, areas that are really close and complement each other. So really good choice.
Yes. Okay. So other question is about if you are applying for an entry-level position on a different industry that you are currently work, how important is downgrade your resume?
Great question. So again, I don't believe, and I'm against lying. I would never do that. If you were a director, you had 100 people, and you were telling you were a coordinator, this is a little bit tricky. It will come. The experience, the things you tell, your examples, it will come. So if you are very senior, I would just, instead of, let's say, the example that I showed before on the sales representative, the resume, you could tell that the person was a sales manager, what had a senior position, and was applying for an entry-level sales. What I would suggest in this case, don't mention that you had an entire team. Mention all the things that you have done that are related to the position. So as a sales manager, you probably still had to contact customers, make calls, prepare presentations, prepare pitches, issue invoices, tell those things instead of emphasizing that I led a team, because I don't need those skills. So this is point one. Point two is Another reason why you need to network, because the keywords won't match and you will seem overqualified. But once someone knows you through network, they will understand why you need an entry-level job, because it's your first Canadian experience.
We have a very interesting question, a similar question about certification and regulatory affairs if you want to pursue a career in medical, writing with a PhD qualifier already. This is very complex because the PhD help you to become a PR for sure, but sometimes depends of the PhD doesn't guarantee that you can work as a doctor. Yes, Carolina and Reza.
I don't know, this person has credentials from Brazil or from back home, right? Nothing Canadian.
Nothing Canadian, but he wants to do a PhD here.
Regarding of doing, I mean, doing taking a PhD, to become a doctor in Canada, you need a PhD, right? You need to entry. So basically what that person is saying is that they would study the whole program, basically. I don't know if I'm clear with that. Any person, it doesn't matter if they graduated here, they graduated in wherever, needs to be certified by the province they live in or they intend to work. So to become a doctor, to be able to work as a doctor. And there is a process to do that. It is not necessary that you study the PhD here, because I don't want to give a specific recommendation, because it really depends on the case. I would like to know more, but essentially it is not necessary to study here. It doesn't. Probably the only thing that it would make easier would be the fact of finding a residency, the process of actually certifying and taking the test. That everybody has to do that. It doesn't matter where you graduated, okay? But it would be a little bit easier, of course, if you are here. But those courses here in Canada are extremely expensive. So what I normally recommend is come study something else, get your PR. And once you get your PR, then you can start your certification as a doctor. There are a few steps that you can start doing, even if you're a doctor now. You doesn't need to have a degree from here. There are things that you can do from back home to start your certification, but at some point you are going to be required a PR to do certain further steps in the process. Okay. So there are a lot of things to consider in this process, but the short answer is not necessary. Wherever the person graduated from, they will have to go through the certification and residency and all the processes.
Well, thank you. We have a question about I can put I am a PR in my resume.
That's a really good one, because unfortunately we will hear it's against the law, but you will hear from a lot of recruiters, do you have PR, are you Canadian citizen? And if you don't have, they might disqualify you. So I don't recommend you to write down. I know it's a plus plus in certain case, but I don't recommend you. What I have done in the past though, when I got my PR, I was so happy, and I have lost job opportunities before, that during the interview with the recruiter, because hiring managers, they don't manage, or they don't care. I would say, and I just got my PR, just give the small clue, but I would not write down on a resume.
Yes, why this is so important and so delicate? Because some companies don't want to handle the immigration process. They don't want to support or pay or sign. And when you say that you are already a PR, they say, okay, I don't need to take care about immigration for my employee. Reza, do you have something to comment about that?
Regarding the
Put the PR in the resume.
yeah, I mean, during the interview, they may ask you, are you authorized to work? And that's where you can say, I'm a PR. And if you have no status or you don't have authorization to work, and if you're applying from overseas and they sense that, the first thing they're going to ask you is, are you authorized to work in Canada? And if you say anything except yes, they're not even going to read the rest. So that's why it's important to be inside Canada. I think most of the time, I'm not saying all the time, and have authorization. And being a PR is great. And during an interview, yeah, you can mention that. You know, I'm so happy I got my PR last week. You know.
Yes. Well, Paula French is asking, we would like to know if you do not have to chance to move to Canada by the end of this year, we will have less than 2 years in Canada with our PR. That's why I would like to know if there is any new policy or exception that we could ask to extend our deadlines. Paula French asked about. If I understand, she is in Brazil and she got the PR overseas. That's it?
We did the landing, but we did not move at the same time because we were trying to be transferred from our companies to work in Canada.
No, it's okay. I was answering her, Paula, by typing. It's an ongoing conversation. So yeah, so that's a different thing. Yeah, I'll answer her. No worries.
Okay. And Marcelo Camargo is asking, Laura, I have a large experience in business industry back in Brazil. I come to Canada and I start in IT program. Since I'm starting is in a new industry and I don't have experience, should I add my business experience on LinkedIn and my resume?
Absolutely. You can look into because IT business, they are correlated. You are providing IT, it's purely business, you know. And again, it's understanding really well where in IT you want to work, what are the skills, and then look back into your business experience. What are the transferable skills you want to explore?
Oh, good. Here is a comment, very good one. Thanks, Reza and Sandy. You and Mayo, look your guidance. Laura, you was a great speakers. Her job searches insights were very useful. We are very happy to receive this kind of feedback because this is making our day. Gisele, okay, so you say you need to say, yes, I can work, but if you go to the end of the process and they asking for get out of the company you are, but if they asking you for a visa documentation, how you can manage this?
No, who was this?
Gisele, she's Brazilian,
yes,
but she wants to know if she needs to send the immigration documentations before the to be fired, to be hired.
She's here.
Yeah, she's in Canada.
Okay, so she's on a work permit, I assume, like implied status. Yeah, but then if you ask your visa and in a for example, due to know that are in plus, how will it be? Well, it depends on your employer, Gisele. So is it Gisele or Gisele? How do you pronounce that?
Gisele.
Gisele. Yeah, so it depends on the employer. So some banks, for example, they're very strict. If you don't have that work permit, the paper, they don't like that. But some companies, they understand implied status. You've already applied, you're allowed legally to work. So it's based on your employer, you know, how strict they are, how specific they are. Yes, I can work, but if we go to and yeah, so each case is different. There's no golden one rule saying, yes, I can work in Canada or I'm a PR or I have a work permit, or I'm in implied status. It depends on the employer and the person sitting across the table or the Zoom meeting that is asking you these questions in your company. So unfortunately, there's no one answer to help you out there. Sorry about that.
Danny, I did notice other questions about job search and career. I would love to answer all of them, but just in respect of the time, there are so
Yes.
many amazing things people can do, and I'm so happy they've been, watching us. So if you have anything specifically to job search and career, feel free to message me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to reply to any of the questions that you posted we couldn't really cover, or maybe you came with another question. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Yes, we are here to offer our promotion and 15% for the first consultation. Only you can use the promo code Laura, and you can use with a discount in our INGWE.ca store or loja in Portuguese. And this is an opportunity because it's very important plan before you start to come to Canada. If you come to Canada without a plan, maybe you need to change the place that you want to live or study or work. It's very important to understand how Canada has different opportunities and cost of lives and cost of courses and different marks, and stay in the correct province or city is sometimes the key to become a PR in the faster way. So here is our promotion. We are very happy to offer a discount to help people to plan and to organize the immigration to Canada. As you can see, it's not something simple. You don't become a PR in one day. It's a process. I like to remember our name, INGWE. It's something that ING is like a process, ING verbs, and we need to stay together with our community, the people that you are working with, studying with, to find jobs and to apply for immigration. It's not something that you can do alone. You need to follow a lot of regulations. You need to study about all the regulations. And as I always say, I can say today, but tomorrow, if I have another regulation, everything change, and maybe your plan can change too, and you need to be prepared. And sometimes it's good to have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, because you can have something as COVID that change the marketing, change the way how we study, they change the way we can work and find for and looking for jobs. So we are very happy to have almost 2 hours of discussion. Our webinar will be recorded because this topic is very important. JobScan, resume, LinkedIn, immigrations, and education is the key for immigration. And we have a lot of opportunities during the COVID. It's not because it's a pandemic that is very complicated for everybody that you cannot work and study and visit Canada in the best way. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Reza. Thank you, Carolina and Baris. You help me and the INGWE team to help the community that wants to come to Canada or that is in Canada and wants to find a good job for immigration purpose. Thank you all. It was amazing, and we'll be a recorder and see you in the future. So thank you so much.
Let me just wrap up with 2 things. The first one, guys, thank you so much, INGWE. Guys, they have been doing a lot of great content on the provincial programs, different options. Follow them on social media. There are lives. It's free content. If you want to become an immigrant of Canada, get powerful information to make your decision. And the second one is for everyone who is in Canada, who is in Brazil. The journey to immigrate and be successful in your career, it's long, takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of resilience. But the fact that you guys have been here watching a webinar for almost 2 hours, it just shows that you have a lot of determination, that you want something. And this is a great sign that things are going to happen and things are going to succeed on your side. So thank you again. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, INGWE, for all the support and organizing the event.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Daniela, Carolina, Boris. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your evening. And remember, it's patience. And eventually, you'll get what you need and what you're looking for. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And be safe. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.